Hello everybody, I'm Hal Howard. I'm the Chief Creative Officer here at Shard, and today we're going to do a little tutorial starting from importing a book, creating a class, creating a few subclasses for that class, and then finally creating some custom types that are used by that class. So today's experiment is all going to be around a class we call the Dabbler, and in this case it's magical tinker. There's many incarnations of this in the multiverse of role-playing games. So 5th edition is wrought with them. You'll find several on different forums. This is our version of it called the Dabbler. And here what we're going to do is I've got this document open. This document pretty much follows the standard layout of a class you'd expect to find in most books. One of the things that I've consolidated here is I've consolidated some of the hit point dice type information and the proficiencies into header info. The reason I've done that is because when I do the conversion, those things are not going to be converted automatically, but the other features that are in the different sections will be. So header info and starting equipment I've left separate, as well as the multi-classing information. Just put them into their own sections. You'll see how it looks when we actually convert this to a class. And then each of the additional features of the class features, things like magical tinkering and concoct item and so on, all of those are their own sections in this book. And then finally we go down here to the subclasses. Dabblers have subclasses called obsessions, and you'll see a few of them here. So obsession options to choose from at 3rd level, and then you go down the list, and each one of the obsessions or subclasses has been made its own separate section with a heading 2 here, and then the features of that have been made a heading 3. And I'll just point that out because that aids mightily in the conversion of this book into a modeled object inside of Shard. So that's the layout of my book. What I'm going to do from here is I'm going to close this and go over into Shard, and we're gonna go ahead and import it. So I'm closing the document here. We're going to pick it up in Shard. And what I'm going to do is go to my library, and I'm going to say I want a new book. So the new book now has consolidated the import option directly onto the thing, and it gives you a little help text here. Books can be docx files. Header 1 creates a chapter, header 2 sections, and so on. We're going to import our book. We just looked at it. It follows all those conventions. So we're going to import a book, and that book here is over in this folder. So I'm going to create, based on this folder, this book. Alright, so it says wants to create a book called Dabbler based on the imported file docx. That's exactly what we want to do. So we're going to create it. You can see it brought in the entire book, including my aforementioned header info, starting equipment, so on, each of the features of the class. If we continue to scroll down here and go to a different chapter, you'll see the obsessions are all listed correctly. The concoctions, which are the things this thing can create. Our tinker creates concoctions, are all listed here as sections, and the special kinds of creatures that are constructs that our Dabbler can create are also listed separately down here as their own chapters in the book. So each one of those is set up. So what we're going to do is we're going to come here to the heading section, or the top chapter of the book, Dabbler itself. We're going to click on this new menu option for the chapter and say we want to convert it, and we want to convert it to a class. Alright, so it went through the conversion process, and what it did is it basically took each of the sections and made them a property of the class. Right? And so you can see we've got a class info header, or a class header here, and then our header info and that sort of thing. If we want to go edit this, we can, or we can just keep it and update the book. And for now, I'm just going to keep it and update the book. All right, so now we've got a class has replaced all those sections we saw in the Dabbler section. So this class object has now replaced it. We're going to click on it to edit it. That'll bring us back into the editor. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go down to each of the sections and walk through them. You can see right away, it's already set up the class table with the features. It gets separate levels and so forth. So if we go down here to Heart of the Dabbler, you see it correctly placed it as a 20th level feature because it had this text that says it's at 20th level, or feature or something like this when you reach 19th level. So mentioning the level at the beginning of your feature automatically set it in the right place in the class hierarchy, so that when you level up, those features will be granted. All right, so that's an automatic conversion feature that's going on here, and we'll go look at that. So anyway, what we need to do from here is we need to start modeling the class features. So I'm going to go back to the top here, and first thing we want is this ability hint. Right, this is a hint that appears on the ability score dialog when you pick this class to sort of tell you, hey, this is the most important ability you could have. All right, so I happen to place that here in my header info. I'm just going to take that sentence and cut it and go up here to hint text and put it in. There we go. So now we've got some hint text that says intelligence is your most important score, followed by constitution or dexterity. All right, so now for subclasses. We said our subclasses were going to be called obsessions. All right, so we're going to call our classes obsessions. So we'll save that. We're going to select those starting at level 3. Our hit die for this particular class is going to be a D8. All right, proficiencies. Proficiencies, it has proficiency in light and medium armor and shields as a starting point. Some of the subclasses have additional proficiencies, but all of the members of this class have those proficiencies. And in terms of weapons, it's going to have proficiency in simple weapons. Again, some of the subclasses gain proficiency in martial weapons, but the overall class has proficiency in simple weapons. Tool proficiencies. Now, if we look down at our header info here that we imported, we'll be able to see some tool proficiencies. And let me just go up here and check what those are. So it looks like simple weapons, thieves' tools, tinker's tools, and one type of artisan tool of your choice. All right, so we'll go back up here to our tools and say, all right, we want to go, the default should be tinker's tools. So thieves' tools, tinker's tools, those are both defaults. And then if we go choose one from this list, artisan's tools, then hit save here, and you'll see that it says thieves' tools, tinker's tools, and choose one artisan's tool. All right, and we're good. We've got our tool proficiency in. As far as savings throws goes, our artificer is going to be proficient in our dabbler is going to be proficient in intelligence and constitution, I believe. Save that and go check it. I know I wrote this in the book, and I'm trying to remember what I wrote. All right, so yep, it looks like it was correct, intelligence and constitution. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and remove this text here, so we no longer need that. And then we've got 2 from Arcana, History, Investigation, Medicine, Nature, Perception, Sleight of Hand. All right, so we'll go up to our skills. All right, skills here. And we're going to say, okay, so you're going to choose 2 from a list. And the list includes Arcana. I'm cheating here a little bit. I'm pulling it up to say Arcana, History, Investigation, Medicine, Nature, Perception, and Sleight of Hand. All right. And there are no defaults, you just get to choose 2 from that list. All right, so that's given us choose 2 from Arcana, History, Investigation, Medicine, Perception. All right, with that, I think we've exhausted what information was in our section called header info, so we can delete that. And then head back up here. And I had intentionally omitted spell casting types of requirements. We're going to get to those in a section, but multi-classing requirements. All right, so multi-classing requirements. If we go look at those, we had those in here. It says ability score minimum. Ability score has to be in 13 or higher. And here are the proficiencies you gain. You gain light, medium armor, shields, thieves' tools, and tinker's tools. And then you get the spell slots. All right, so we're going to do multi-classing requirement. Multi-classing requirement is an intelligence. And that's all. And the standard is 13, so that's okay. Now we're going to get light, medium, and shields. If we multi-class into artificer, we're going to get simple weapons, I believe. And we multi-class in. And then tools-wise, multi-classing for tools, we got the tinker's tools. We get the thieves' tools and the tinker's tools, but we lost the choice of additional tools. All right, and it actually does not say we get the light weapons or simple weapons. Most other classes have that, but we're going to remove it just in case. All right, so we'll remove that. Put our tools in as just thieves' tools again, and tinker's tools, no choices. These are just the defaults. So that's what you get if you multi-class into artificer in terms of new capabilities. Is you get those, and you don't get skill choices because you got those with your other class at first level. All right, so multi-classing requirements we've taken care of. Say OK, and now let's go look at starting equipment. So starting equipment here. All right, so we're going to add equipment, and the first one is 2 simple weapons. Okay, so 2 simple weapons, that's what we get there. And I'm going to add equipment, and we're actually going to pick some items. In this case, we're going to pick a light crossbow and bolts for it. Crossbow bolts. There we go. And save that. So, okay, we've got light crossbow and crossbow bolts. Studded leather scale armor. Okay, so we get an add equipment of all right. We're going to pick items. And the first one we're going to pick studded leather armor. That was one of the choices. And save. And then we want to implement our OR. So what we do here is we choose the same line and add equipment, and then a different pick becomes scale armor. Scale mail. And we've got too many of them here to actually see the right one on the thing. So if we just go out here and check our rarity equals none, then you'll get the standard one. And go. All right. So there we go. Studded leather armor or scale mail is the choice. So that's how you get a choice, is you do the first one, and then you click the add equipment. If we wanted a third choice, we could add equipment again, and it would become choice C. All right. So we've got those two. What else do we get? Thieves' tools and a Dungeoneer's pack. So that's an and, not an or. So we're going to treat it just like we did the light crossbow and bolts. We'll do first our thieves' tools, right, and Dungeoneer's pack. All right. So choose both of those, save it, and now you can see thieves' tools and Dungeoneer pack were added, and we're good. So you start with following equipment in addition to the equipment granted by your background. Right, there we go. That's what we do. So we've now taken care of starting equipment. And can make the choice. If we want a gold alternative, it's 5d4 times 10. That's what the alternative was. So we'll put the gold alternative in there, and then we'll delete that section because we no longer need it. We've got it modeled. Okay, magical tinkering is the first level feature that's outside of this, so we're going to edit that. And there really isn't anything to model here. This is text that gets added. So you're gonna just, we could add construction of an object or something as a create item here, but this is mostly transient things that are going to come and go. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to show this on the character sheet, or display the feature on the character sheet, so it becomes something the player can see on their sheet, not just in the description of the class. All right, so that way that one's good. Now this one we'll need to come back to because it's much more complicated. In fact, let's go ahead and start modeling that now. So concoctions. Concoctions have a few different things, right? You can concoct items here, and it's got two different properties that should be in the class table here: the number you know and the number of them you can create at any given time, right? So essentially we want to go up and create a couple of custom class features here starting at second level. So what we want to do is add a custom level attribute. I haven't forgotten about spellcasting here, so let's not forget this. All right, so there's none at first level, but at second level you get 2. Actually, I think you get 4 at second level, and these are choices, not points. And then at 6th level you get a couple more, I believe, and at 10th a couple more, and at 14th 2 more, and then finally at 18th 2 more. All right, save that, and it says, yep, you get all the way up. You get different amounts of concoctions you can do. Starting at second level, going all the way to 18th, you can do different things. And instead of showing these as points, we want to actually give this attribute a name, concoctions. And this wants to be pick options from a list. And this allows us to edit the options. And you can see the only one we've got right now is Enhance Armor. I had pre-created this thing for concoctions. We'll show you how to do that separately here, but that's the first entry in that list, and we are going to go add a bunch more to that list here shortly. All right, so let's just close that off. We don't need to do anything else there. Concoctions have now been created, and then we need to add one more custom level attribute that we basically want to show. So this is concoctions that are known, and the other one is sort of what your concocted item limit, basically. All right, so the concocted item limit is basically just a display value, because we don't really need to do anything with it. It's not going to have a prefix or suffix. It's just information that the character needs, or the player needs. And we're going to again set the first level value to 0, and then here we go to 2, and this one basically ticks up at half the rate of the number you know that you can cast. And so 10th, 14th, 18th all get one more. All right, and save that. And so that's the way to model that. We can display value. We could also keep it as points if we wanted. It's just a limit in terms of the normal things. If you want to be able to tick that down, then keeping it as a count would be fine. I prefer the display value approach here, so that's what we're going to do. So we're just going to show it as display value. Now if we go up and look at our class table, you'll see what's going on here is we now have concocted item limit, concoctions known in addition to our features. We're also going to go add spell casting here. So let's go ahead and add our spell casting before we forget. So the spell list is for the Dabbler. It automatically gave it a spell list according to that. And what type of spellcaster it is? Well, it's a half caster, but it has the unique property of having first level spells. Spells at first level. Most half casters only start getting spells at second level. This particular one gets spells starting at first level. And its ability score DC is intelligence. Right, so that's the ability score it depends on. And then cantrips and known spells here. If we look at our assigned spells to class, you'll see all the different spells that I've pre-assigned to this class. If we want to add another one, right, this is from all classes, all levels, but if we want to see the ones that are just assigned to Dabbler here already, we can say selected. Now, there's none selected right now, but if we wanted to see ones that were just assigned here, there aren't actually any assigned. I had done a previous attempt at this though, and that I called first attempt. And we can go select each of the spells here, because I know these happen to correspond to the list I want for my Dabbler, so I can just select these as we go. There's not a select all mechanism here, again, because usually you're picking and choosing a small number of spells. In this case, we're going to, there's a large number of cantrips that are available. There's, reasonably large number of first level spells, and that number diminishes as you get up to second, third, fourth, and so on. So we're just selecting them as we go. Again, we could select this from any list we want. I happen to be copying it from a previous incarnation of this class, so I know the list is right. I could be doing a much more lengthy process of doing it from paper or making it up as I go along, in which case I'd just search for spell names or restrict the list by level or something and go pick the ones I wanted. So here we're just picking all the spells that belong to that particular thing. Trust me, the first time around this can be a lengthier process just because you don't have a filter already set up for it, so you're just typing in names of spells or going through the lists, picking which ones you want. So we're going to go through here, and there we go. Down to third. There we go. All right. All right, there we go. Now we have our spell list established. Okay, let's carry on here. We'll pick our cantrips. Cantrips. We're going to have 2 at first level, and then we don't get another one until we get to 10th level, and yet one more when we get to 14th, and that's it. Relatively light on cantrips for this particular class. And then no worries about known spells. That's only if you have to, if you're a wizard or something like that. We're a class that prepares spells. We have the entire spell list available to us, and in fact the number we can prepare is in fact our ability modifier, which is our intelligence plus half our class level. That's the correct calculation for that. So we're all good. We've now got spell casting set up, and if we go up to our class table, you will see that we have known cantrips, concocted items, concoctions known, spell slots. All of our spell slots are set up correctly for 1st through 5th spells. As a half caster, that's the spells we get, and they progress as one would expect for a half caster. All right, so that's that. We're getting very close to having this class completely set up. What we're going to do now is continue down to the features that need to be modeled. All right, so we've got magical tinkering. We've already set it up to display on the character sheet. For concocted items, This one also is basically just going to show on the character sheet because we've already modeled it above in terms of what's going on. So we're just going to say display it on the character sheet. All right, as we scroll down here, right tool for the job says, all right, you learned produce exactly the tool you need. These tools are the tools at hand. You can magically create. Again, this is only a feature that needs to be shown on the character sheet. There's no modeled behavior for this. It's not a combat bonus or some other die rolling bonus that we need, or skill or proficiency or anything else, right? It's just the ability to create a set of tools during your long or short rest, right? So there we go. So we're going to put that in the list. Now, ability score improvement. You may notice that in my document I had, rather than the standard listing ability score improvement once and saying at 4th, 8th, 10th, 12th, whatever level, I actually put it in multiple times. I did that precisely for this reason, to know when to go get this. And so this is an ability score improvement. We could do it there. What we're going to do, though, is we've actually got a pre-canned macro here for ability score improvement that does the ability score increases and allows you to pick a feat if needed. So that's all pre-set up and ready to go. And we hit save. All right, so the ability score increases there. Rather than setting that up as a pick the increase or the thing each time, you can do that. All right, tool expertise. All right, so here as the 6th level feature, this one actually is a model feature, and this one is a change to the tools. So it's a tool proficiency in all that you're proficient. All right, so there we go, modeled. Tools, all proficient, become expert. Okay. There we go. So that's modeled correctly now. Flash of genius. All right. Getting the ability when under pressure. Or teaches you within 30 feet. Make an ability check or savings throw. Reaction to your intelligence modifier to the roll. Again, this is something that, because it's very conditional, right? It's not an always add or anything else. The only way for anything to know when to do this is display it on the sheet. The player needs to remember that they have this feature, but it's got a use count. So we're going to say the uses equal, it's based on an ability score, it's based on intelligence, and it recovers when you finish a long rest. All right, so and the minimum once is automatically built in here, so it doesn't make so much sense to give you a feature that has less than one use. All right, so there we go. It's based on your intelligence modifier and recovers after a long rest. That's the use count. All right, so that's the uses on the Flash of Genius. I've got that modeled now. Ability score improvement, again, we'll just go into the edit dialog here and pick the pre-canned ability score improvement. Hit save, and we're done. And you notice it inserted all the extra abilities it needed there. Magic item adept. Okay, so this is a specialized modeling thing for attunement. All right, so for attunement, you get one additional slot. Okay, so one additional slot and save. There we go. And we actually need to show this one on the character sheet too, because it's got that extra thing about you craft a magic item, a rare common, quarter of the time, and so on. So you need to know that you can do that. So this one also needs to go on the character sheet. Magic item adept. Okay, spell storing item. Long rest, you can touch one simple or martial weapon, one item to use spell casting focus and store a spell in it. Choosing a 1st or 2nd level spell from the Dabbler spell list requires an action. You don't need to have it prepared. Hold object, produce the spell effect. Yeah, so this one we're also just going to add to the feature list, display feature. There we go. Ability, again, an ability score improvement. So we're going to go pick our ability score improvement here. Hit save. And magic item out, already done. Okay, so our 14th level feature here just adds one to the attunement slots. And so we need to display it on the character sheet because it's got the additional characteristic of ignoring prerequisites. So we want to make that clear to folks. And then we're going to do here to attunement and just add one more slot, bringing the total to 5. All right. Save that, and then we've already done our ability score improvement at 16. So at 17, we once again increase the number of slots. This time we won't display it on the character sheet because all it's doing is increasing the number of slots. So we'll just go here and say 1, and then that'll automatically show up as having 6 slots on the character sheet. And we're good. Alright, last but not least, the 20th level capstone feature. Alright, so here we get +1 for each item attuned. So we're going to go to the attunement dialog, check that box, which was specifically built for characters with this characteristic, or classes with this characteristic. And then this one also needs to be displayed on the character sheet because it's got this additional thing that can't be modeled, which is, you know, releasing one of your items to avoid going to 0 hit points. So I'll display that on a character sheet as well and hit save. And with that, we're done with the modeling of the core class. So we've got all of our features modeled. We've got all of the settings up here at the top. So we've got, you know, hit dice and proficiencies and cantrips and so on, all set up, spell lists all set up, and so we're ready to move on to doing the subclasses. So we'll hit save here. Our document gets updated, and we want to move down to the obsessions here. Okay, now we're ready to convert the subclasses. You'll see I've got a section here, a chapter labeled obsessions, which is the type of subclass we want for our dabblers. We've got 4 options listed here. You'll notice that each of those has subsections for each of the features of that subclass. So what we're going to do is once again use our conversion from the text to do the heavy lifting for us. So we're going to convert the children to subclasses of the Dabbler. All right, let's see how that turned out. So we've got our alchemy on here, looks pretty good. Armor also looks pretty good. Artillery, I think we're good. We're going to keep and update the book. All right. So what that did is it went and removed our subsections and put them all into a model class here. And so each section now has a model class in it. So if we go here to the alchemy subclass, we can go and into the features. And all right, so tool proficiency here looks like we gain proficiency in alchemist supplies if we didn't already have it. So this is a tool proficiency with alchemist supplies. We'll just check that. That's the default. And hit save. And then it's got an additional thing. If you already have proficiency, you gain proficiency with one other type of artisan tool of your choice. That'll automatically happen based on our tools. We don't need to display that on the character sheet. So we can hit save on that particular one. And then we go to alchemy spells. And here we're going to have a set of spells, in this case, that you always have certain spells prepared. So this is spells always available. So we'll go down to our spell modeling section here and say always available. And then we're going to want to look at that list of spells and add them into that table. So let's just pull this down so that we can see the original text. And Healing Word is the first spell, so we'll go healing word, and then ray of sickness. That's the next one, and flaming sphere, and acid arrow, and gaseous form, and mass healing word, and blight, and death word, cloud kill, and finally, last but not least, but Ray's dead. Alright, so with that, I'll pull this back up and hit save. And what you'll see is the new the modeled table has been added here. So your spell levels, first level, you get when you get access to these levels of spells, these spells will automatically be added to your list. So we can go up here and modify the text to remove this table because it's redundant now. And they don't count against your list. That's the automatic behavior. And you can see the list here in the always available. And hit save. And now we've modeled that feature. So if we go down to experimental elixir, produce an magical elixir. Okay, so this one is just going to go on the character sheet. There really isn't anything we're modeling here. I suppose we could do a create item and create the actual elixir. In this case, I think it's just going to be easier for it to be displayed on the character sheet. So we'll just display it on the character sheet, and the items can be created on the fly. Let's save. Okay, so next feature, 5th level, Savant. Master of chemicals, enhance healing, damage do throughout, create through them. Whenever you cast a spell, alchemist supplies, spell casting focus, gain a bonus to one roll of the spell. You must restore points or damage rolls. Acid bonus equals your intelligence modifier. Alright, so this is just going to be displayed on the character sheet. There really isn't modeling for this, and that's because it has dependencies on damage types and on healing and so forth, and the amount of work that would be necessary to actually detect that that was what was going on and add the bonus would be more work for the player than just adding it by hand. So in that case, we've opted not to model for things that have that sort of dependency on a variety of conditions to exist before you get the modifier. If it was a persistent modifier, we'd model it, but not something that's conditional. All right, so restorative agents here in your work. Yep, maximum one. Again, this is just going to be something that gets displayed on the character sheet. So we want to display it on the character sheet, but we also want to go and highlight this die roll because we want to make it easy for you to roll that die roll. So if we bold that die roll, it will become rollable on the sheet. And that's pretty much what we can do. We can add a link here to lesser restoration. Set the link just so you can look that spell up easily. We could also add a link to alchemist supplies if we wanted. And we'll go here and alchemist supplies. Set the link, and that's pretty much what we can set links for, and we're good, I think. All right, so we're got chemical mastery. All right, here we can again display it on the character sheet, And we'll go ahead and highlight some links here in the, we'll say what the poison condition is, just in case you want to look that up. We'll highlight greater restoration here. Got the spell for that. And heal. Also a spell. Set the link for that. We could also, again, highlight alchemist supplies just in case it doesn't know what those are. And there we go. Set the link for that. And I think we're good. Okay, so this one, oh, we actually want to track usage on this. So here we've got this greater restoration or heal without expending a spell slot, without preparing a spell, without material components, etc. has a rest or a use count. So even though we've got this displayed on the character sheet, we want to add a fixed use count. And you can only use it once, and you regain it after a long rest. So that's that. That'll give us a way to track that on the sheet. And all right, that looks like the last feature of the subclass. So I think we're good. Back up here. Oh, it looks like we missed a use count on this one as well. So I'll go back here and add uses. And also number of times equal to your intelligence modifier. So in this case, it's not a fixed count. It's equal. It's based on an ability score, and in this case, it's based on your intelligence modifier, and no additional bonus to that, and it recovers after a long rest. All right, so we've got the subclass modeled. I'm going to walk through and do the rest. I'm not going to bother to video that. When the class is released, I will have done all of the additional ones. They're basically the same operation we just completed. We do a set of spells that are always available, do some proficiency gain, etc. A set of characteristics that get tracked on the character sheet that have use counts and so on. I don't think there's anything particularly interesting to model there. If there is, I will add a video back for that later. So with that, we're going to move on to concoctions here. You can say we've got a list of concoctions that are going on in the text here. So we can go create these. And again, we're going to use the power of our book to do the text convert and convert all these to concoctions. So again, we're going to go here to the chapter header and say convert the children, and what we want to convert them to is a new type called concoctions. Now to do this, I needed to create one in advance, and here you'll see, okay, it's gone and created all of these things separately. Now it looks like we've got some formatting error here where we've got the item being shown as a prerequisite. I actually don't like that. I want that to be shown in the body, so I'm going to discard these converted items and go to things that have an item like this, and instead of what's shown here, I'm just going to create, format that a little differently. Apparently when this got imported from the document, it got imported with instead of a paragraph break there was a hard carriage return. Again, this is the danger of having things that can be done in multiple ways. But the converter, if it sees the paragraph mark, will in fact do the right thing and put this on a separate, keep this separately. Otherwise, it thinks it is part of the prerequisites. So we want to, all right, we want to do that. You'll see there's slightly more space between the two, indicating that we display the character thing a little bit differently. All right, so there we go. I'll All these replicate items don't have that characteristic. And it's probably worth noting that instead of doing something like one feature for replicate item with a big table or whatever else, I made them separate features, and that's because you've got to be able to choose them separately. And the way to make them choosable separately is to actually do that, is to make it a separate concoction that you can choose. And so that's what I've done. And looks like we've got one more here with repelling shield that needs to get fixed up. And resistant armor also seems to have the formatting challenge from the document. And this one just has an item, so since it has no other prerequisite, that'll be fine. It won't be considered a part of the prereq. And I think we're done, and we can go back up here and try converting again. So let's go back to the top and convert our children again. And again, we're going to pick other and concoctions. Did mean I had to create one concoction separately from the document just to prime the pump, if you will, to make that available on the menu. Here, everything looks good. Now we've got our prereq on a line by itself. We've got the description. We want to go in and look at one of these. You'll see the prereq was shown here. The description is shown there. It's all modeled correctly. And so or the text is laid out correctly. Modeling will be the next step. And so I'm going to say, all right, keep these and update the book. There we go. So now we have keep updated the book. We also kept the text. So that's that. We can go clean these up, model them, and we'll be ready to go. Since that's largely, I'll go choose one here that has an interesting property, like enhancing arcane focus, and we'll just walk through modeling this. Okay, so we want to hold in this item, gain 1 to spell attack rolls, and that sort of thing. So let's see, we want to edit here, and this item is going to give us an attack bonus. So this is a create item ability that adds a spell attack bonus. So we're going to do a create item, and we do have create a specific item, and the item has to be a rod, a staff, or a wand. All right, so we're going to pick, it does require attunement. We want to pick the item. This is not a specific item, it's pick an item to transform. All right, so that gives us the item filter for what item to select from our inventory and so forth. So we want to pick an item to transform. It does require attunement. We can have an item type here of rod, wand, or does staff not show up on this list? Seems like it should. I'll fix that later. All right, so in this case, that's all we need. Is we need to select one of those, and then we need to give it some abilities, and its ability is a spell attack bonus of +1 until we get to 10th level. So level up this ability at 10th level, and then the ability becomes an attack bonus, spell attack bonus of +2. And we can save that. And now we've modeled that. So create a special item from scratch or by modifying an item, +1 to spell attack and so on. Yep, that's what that's going to be. And we go. Save that, and we're good. We'll need to walk through and do this for any of the others. Most of them are just going to be displayed on the character sheet or create a specific item, and that's what we'll do. And then we'll have it all modeled. So last thing I want to show here is converting one of the creatures. And here, these creatures are special, so we normally could use the create a monster for it, but we're creating a very special kind of creature here that does this. So we're going to do it in sort of 2 steps, right? So we're going to do first to convert to a monster, and what I want to do here is edit it and basically say, hey, this is the homunculus prototype. And the reason I'm doing that just do that. Close that off. All right. All right, I'm actually going to discard this because it's not formatted the way I want. So we're going to go in here and do some formatting to bold these things. This hit points isn't going to be picked up correctly, so I'm just going to leave that alone. Speed will be picked up correctly, so the reason hit points is not going to be picked up correctly is it's not a standard thing. It's a companion creature, and so we're just going to need some additional modeling to put in the formula. So, but skills, savings throws, immunities, and so forth, if these things are bolded at the head end of a section, they will get matched to features and automatically modeled correctly. So I'm just putting the bold in for the ones that are particular characteristics. There we go. You'll see the difference in the modeling here in a second. And I'm going to go through the convert process again for a monster. And now you can see all those things correctly got pulled in. I didn't bother to bold hit points. These are characteristics, so I didn't bold those. I could have. They will get bold and italicized for proper formatting in the block. And the reason I'm going to go change the name of this, and I'm just going to choose to call it the servant, is because I actually want to base the actual creature on this creature. This is going to be an intermediate step. All right, so I'm going to save that. I'm going to say discard. I'm going to say keep and update the book. So this will keep and update the book with the appropriate thing, and I put the servant block. And the reason I did that is because what I want to do is I want to go to this section and I want to add. I'm going to do a pick content this time, and it's already set to monsters because there's a monster added here, but I want to create a new one. And the reason I want to create a new one is I want to create it as a companion creature, right? And I'm going to pick the intermediate step I did as the basis for this companion creature. This just avoids me having to cut and paste a bunch of stuff into the creature. And then I'm going to give this the actual name, homunculus servant. Right? Because companion creatures have this unique property where their ability scores or their hit points and several other things actually depend on the character that they're attached to. All right, so we're going to create this as a companion creature. All right, and because we copied the other one, we automatically got all these setups over here correct. All right, and we're going to go model the rest. So we're going to do this. And the formula for a companion creature here is, in this case, its base HP is 1. It depends on the Dabbler class, and only gets multiplied by 1, and I believe it doesn't even get the character ability modifier. If it did, we could put the intelligence modifier or something in here. I don't believe it does. So it has very few hit points, right, in terms of what's going on. And then what we need to do here is the last things we couldn't convert automatically was the hit point calculation wasn't, but we just did that, so we can remove that text. And then the stat scores here of the homunculus can be set up correctly. So it gets a dexterity of 15, constitution of 12, intelligence of 10, wisdom of 10, charisma -7. All right, and so we've set that up, and we can delete this excess text here, delete that, and just for formatting reasons, I like to bold and italicize those, and same for this. It's the name of a feature, bold and italicize, and there are no die rolls embedded in that, so we don't have to do any highlighting for that. Let's go down and look at the actions. The actions do have attacks, so what we'll want to do is we'll want to bold that so it picks up as a die roll, and same for the damage. So on a hit, it does that amount of damage. Bold that. That'll be picked up as a die roll now for the damage. And again, formatting wise, we probably want this to be bold italics, and same for the reaction here, we want that to be bold italics. All right, so it did correctly convert our subsections into actions and reactions, and we got all our traits in. That looks pretty good. Looks like we've got our creature modeled. We can pick a token for it. So in this case, I'm going to search the web for a token. Obviously, once I publish this, I will need art that we actually own for it. I don't publish things that use public domain art. Obviously, if you're doing the stuff for your own gaming, you can put whatever art you wish in it under the fan use policy. But if you intend to publish it in the marketplace, you will need to be careful to include art that you have rights to. So I'm just going to remove the word servant here and redo the search and see what it gets us for a homunculus. And you can see we get all the sort of classic homunculus artwork. For now, I will choose that one and build a token for it. So there we go. I can build a token for our little homunculus and save that. Said I will have to update that with artwork I actually own before I publish, and I will do that. All right, and then we can save, and we can go here and actually remove our intermediate one. So we can remove this guy because we don't need it anymore. And it deleted that section. It did not delete the monster from your catalog, but just removed it from the book. And then we've already converted all this text, so we can do this, delete that, and we're kind of good to go. So we've got our homunculus servant and his own little section stat block here. We can do the same for the defender and convert that one. Very similar process. You can see the formatting's already been done here for this particular class, and all the work for that has been done. But we could go convert that one. Again, we use a two-step process because this is a modeled creature. So we create an intermediate normal monster, and then the modeled class. We didn't bother to give you an option for converting to a companion creature because that's a very rare operation, happens to be used here. All right, with that, I'll sign off, and I'm happy to take any questions about today's lesson on our Discord or Facebook or any of our other social media forums, on Reddit, and so on, or directly on Twitter. Follow us on any of those forums, and we'll be happy to answer any and all questions you have. I'm looking forward to getting this out there for everybody to use, and getting the video in place so that you can have fun creating your own classes, subclasses, and doing all kinds of conversions from books.